pray to the gains, the God of gains. May you bless us with gains this morning. Amen. Feeling a little extra tight this morning. Whew, welcome to day 4 of phase 2. It's the last day of this phase. It is full body plus iso like we've been doing for the last 3 days. And we're starting off first with some box squats. Now we just have a bench set up here, as you can see. We're gonna be using this as a box. You can use pretty much anything you need. But we're just gonna be taking the edge here and we're gonna be grasping the dumbbells. And then just gonna be sitting down and standing straight up. So here we go, we're gonna grab some dumbbells, get it started. We can start in the seated position as I am doing now, or you can start in the standing position. So once you unrack your weights, you can walk over and then immediately get into position. But I'm starting in the seated position, so just bending over and grasping the dumbbells. And you're just gonna have about a hip width stance on these ones, just so that it allows movement for the dumbbells. If you get too wide, of course the dumbbells are gonna hit your legs. So you wanna keep them just about hip width there. So that way when you're standing up and squatting down, the dumbbells are gonna have room to have that nice motion in there. Now with the box squats, you're just barely touching the bench. You're still keeping tension in the legs, and then you're getting that full extension at the top position and squeezing in the glutes. So down, touch, slight hold, but keeping tension in there, and then bring it up to the top position and squeezing those glutes together. Keeping a nice vertical torso. All right, nice. Now as you can tell here, the bench is allowing just about a 90-degree angle between my lower and upper leg here. Now the lower it is, the more difficult it is. So if you want this exercise to be a little bit more difficult, just get a box or bench that's gonna be a bit lower. That way you can have your hip crease go slightly below knee. And you'll feel a bit more difficulty in there to get to the top position. But we're just doing 4 sets of 8 and keeping it pretty simple. This one's a really nice and comfortable one for to get used to that motion and that squat position. Now with these ones too, sometimes in the squat, you can kind of get stuck in the hole in a sense, and the hole is getting to the bottom position in the squat. So once you're down here, sometimes it's hard to get that strength to the top position. So the good thing about box squats is a couple of things. One, it allows you to have kind of a safety net for yourself to be able to touch something and sit on something for you to feel comfortable. But also it's building strength in this position. So if you kind of like stay here, keep the tension in the legs, slight hold, and then explode from that bottom position to the top, it's creating that strength from this bottom position. You get used to that nice drive and full extension in there. So that's one good thing about the box squats is it's gonna help you in the long run to improve your overall squats and your strength. Oh yeah, feel those burns in those quads. Definitely feeling the quads on these ones, feeling the glutes. Not a lot in the hamstrings, but that's what, of course, you're gonna do other exercises in. A lot of times your quads are gonna take over. They're gonna be a little bit more dominant. I'm definitely quad dominant. My quads are a bit more stronger than my hamstrings, so I'm always trying to pay attention to my hamstrings. And you can isolate them with, let's say, Romanian deadlifts, leg curls, things of that nature, to try to bring that strength up in the hamstrings. But for now, we're just doing these box squats. Feels good. And as you can tell, the dumbbells are held at your side, so it lowers your center of gravity. You're gonna feel a little bit more stable during this exercise in comparison to a normal barbell squat, where your center of gravity is raised and you feel a little bit more off balance. But it is always good to test your balance too. So if you want a variation of these, want to make them a little bit more difficult, what you can do, take the dumbbells, just place them on your shoulder here, and perform the same exercise. Oh yeah. Feeling good, feeling damn good. Whew. Nice little break and we got one more set. Legs are out of the way. Box squats done. We're moving on to now back, which is gonna be the bent over alternating dumbbell row. Now this one's a little bit of a different exercise, maybe one you're not familiar with. And as the name explains, what you're doing is bending over and you're taking 2 dumbbells, holding one straight, rowing one up in one way, at one time, letting it down, and then alternating between each side. So we're gonna be going through this and kind of break down a little bit as I do it. As you can see, feet are pretty close together. Again, that just helps with the movement of the dumbbells. That way you can just pull it right to your side here. And we're gonna be doing a bit closer. You can do it wider if you want, but we're gonna go a little bit closer to the elbows here. So in this position, try to get your upper torso just about horizontal to the floor. You're gonna roll one side up and then the next side, just alternating back and forth. Much like we've explained before, in this particular exercise, when you're rowing, you wanna get your elbows as high as you can to really get that full contraction to lat. Also, don't turn as you're rowing. So if you're in this position, you don't wanna turn, you wanna keep, you're facing forward at all times there. So that way you're making and forcing that lat to do all the work. Of course, the rear deltoid and the bicep are gonna be a secondary muscle group, but the majority of the work is gonna be in the latissimus dorsi. Whew, and it wins you, it's a good one. We are moving on to the incline press. Now this is gonna be an alternating motion too. So you're gonna be keeping the dumbbells, and actually you can decide how you wanna start the exercise. You can either start it in the top position, bring one down and press up while holding the one as straight and flex as you can. Or you can keep it in the stretch position all the way down and then alternate between both. So we're gonna be doing both just to kind of show you what it looks like and maybe some of the things to keep in mind. So you get the dumbbells in this position here, and from this position you can press up one and then right into the next one, just like so. Or you can keep them at the top position, lower one, back up, and then back down. This is, I gotta be honest, probably my personal favorite to do in this particular exercise, because you just feel like it's a little bit more difficult. You have to work a bit harder because the opposite side that you're working in has to stay flexed and contracted slightly. So it feels just a bit more difficult. As you can tell, I'm going inward as well. Nice squeeze the top and then back down. So together squeeze, then come down. And there we have it. The alternating incline press. And you'll notice that there's a lot of incline in this program. And one of the reasons is just the clavicular portion of the chest is sometimes a little bit more difficult to build because there is less fibers located in the top portion of the chest. So a lot of times if you overdevelop your lower chest, it kind of hangs a little bit heavy and kind of shallow on the top. It just might not be as aesthetically pleasing. So to develop your upper chest kind of makes it nice, like front shield, you just look better that way, that body armor. So that's why we include a lot of the incline presses in this program. We're on to alternating shoulder press now, and as you can tell, we're gonna be doing it on the bench with the back support. And I'm sure, as you can tell now by all these exercises, that most of them are alternating. So instead of obviously pressing them in a bilateral motion together, you're gonna be going one up, concentrating on one side, getting that good fluid motion in proper form, bringing it down, going to the next. And another good thing about this is you can bust a couple out on your weaker side, so you can still kind of have those benefits of working with any kind of asymmetrical problems you might have in the muscle. And yeah, let's get to it. Oh yeah. So I can do one more on my weaker side. You can even do two if you want, or three, kind of depending on how much work you want to put into it. And also, as you can see, you still want to get that the full extension and slight elevation in that shoulder top position. You really get that nice squeeze and that trapezius at that top position there. And same with the other side, of course. And there we go. That's the alternating shoulder press. You can do it standing. You can do it seated without a backrest, but today, just having a little bit more support. And whenever you do have support, you can always feel like you can push a little bit more weight because you have something to kind of push against. So you can always go a little bit heavier with the back support, which is always a nice benefit. We are done with the compound movements, got all those done, and now we're moving on to the isolation movements, and we're gonna be isolating the rear deltoid, the posterior deltoid. And we're gonna be doing something that's a little bit different. Like usually you'll see some kind of reverse flies going in this way, but we're gonna be working on shoulder extension. So that's one of the major movements of the rear delt, posterior delt. So extending backwards. And if you just do it without weight, just doing this, you'll be able to feel that rear deltoid contract there for that motion. And we're gonna be, of course, adding a little bit of weight to it. And we're gonna be getting in the bent over position here, keeping that torso as vertical as you can, as horizontal as you can to the floor here. And so here we go. We're gonna get a little twist in there too. So as I extend back, I'm rotating my palms backwards. And a nice fluid motion, get a little squeeze at the top. See my feet placement are together, so that way making room for my arms when they come back behind me. It's one of these exercises that you probably won't feel right away and like, oh my God, that's like amazing. But the more you do it, the more repetitions you do, and the better form you have, you're immediately gonna feel that isolation in that rear delt, and it's a really good feeling. Highly recommended this exercise. It's usually not done, so it's a good one for sure. Moving on to the underhand flies, and this is gonna be isolating a bit more of the clavicular portion of the chest here. You can be in a standing position, be taking the dumbbells, and you can be raising them up, just slight bend in the elbow here, raising them up and rotating, making sure those palms are facing up in that underhand kind of position. Slightly come together and a nice squeeze there, and you're gonna really feel a good contraction right in that upper chest area. You know, of course, you don't wanna swing. You do want a slight bend in the elbow just to keep some contraction in the arms to support that weight that's kind of load on that elbow joint there. And with the secondary muscle group is definitely gonna be the front delt here, the anterior deltoid, to help with that motion, because it is very similar to, like, let's say a front raise. Of course, the positioning of the hands are a bit different. You can tell I'm starting a little bit wider at the bottom, position here, and then raising up together, keeping the shoulders back and down. You can add a little twist in there, as you can see. Start with the palms kind of facing yourself or together, and then rotating up, or you can keep them facing out and then just raise straight up and together. Oh yeah. Definitely does a job. Whew. And you'll notice, if you're familiar with our other programs, we do include this one quite a bit, just because it's a bit different movement and really helps target that upper chest area, which is something Hudson and I are always really trying to work on and develop. Last exercise is gonna be the reverse crunch. Now, just the other day, day 3, we did normal crunches, weighted crunches, with the dumbbell just placed right under the chin here. This one's not gonna be weighted, and we're doing reverse, which means we're gonna be crunching up the bottom half of the body here. And much like a normal crunch, it's not gonna be a super long range of motion. You're really just working on that spinal flexion in there and pinking up the lower half of your body and really crunching in and squeezing. And you're really gonna try to bring your knees up to your chest here. And we're gonna be doing it on a bench, so it's gonna make it a little bit more difficult. As you can see, it's a slight decline here. So it's gonna, a bit more weight is gonna be placed on the abs. Good thing about this is you can just reach back, get a little extra support here. And you can start with your legs straight and then crunch in, or you can just keep them bent and crunch straight in. Oh yeah. Oh, you feel these ones, good. Really isolating those abs. Yeah. Whew. Come on, baby. It's laundry day, so I just gotta get a little extra pump so I can wash my clothes. All right, that finishes up phase 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. That is it for the full body workout. So on phase 3, we're gonna be splitting up from lower to upper. So some days we're gonna be concentrating on lower, and the other days we're gonna be concentrating on upper. So we're slowly splitting the muscle groups up, the body groups up, and it's gonna make it a little bit more and more difficult. So hopefully you'll join along. Hopefully you enjoyed it so far. And as always, oh yeah, stay buff.